In the news this week, shut urgent care clinics and let the GPs do it. Perth's leading healthcare group blasts the model and says it makes no fundamental logic. A WAMA News exclusive.
No boats leaving and sheep numbers declining. Farmers and regional communities facing job losses as the live export trade comes to an end. Australia to go net zero by 2035 as the Liberals wrestle with their own stance. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. The Albanese government is facing harsh criticism over its urgent care clinic model, with leading Perth healthcare group calling it illogical and a waste of taxpayers' money. Part Medical Group owner Raj Salvendra, who operates several GP clinics, told exclusively to WAMA News the government should instead support GPs to extend opening hours. Reporter Paige Reid has the scoop. Quite a fiery statement you got there, Paige. What did he say?
Yes, Ivan, it appears the healthcare industry in WA clearly wants a change to the current system. Part Medical Group's managing director Raj Salvendra made a scathing statement saying urgent care clinic models is a blunder for the federal government, describing them as essentially after-hours clinics. The industry believes that the most cost-effective way of addressing non-urgent cases is to divert them to GP centres and encourage them to stay open until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Mr. Salvendra hit out saying urgent care clinics have no fundamental logic and deliver services at a huge cost to taxpayers. The same objective can be achieved at a fraction of the cost if existing infrastructure is utilised, with a modified Medicare payment about half the cost of an urgent care clinic. We can better provide services. Salvendra highlighted that 70% of cases that are self-presented to urgent care are problems that could be addressed by their GP instead. He commented that urgent care clinics represent a massive cost to taxpayers, with the bill expected to reach $1.4 billion over the next 5 years. Raj also reminded everyone of the super clinics introduced by the Rudd government, which came at an estimated cost of $10 million each and were later abandoned by the subsequent Liberal government. Mr. Salvendra says the government has not learned from past mistakes. Instead, he proposed that doctor clinics be kept open for longer, with a flat rate payment provided to cover penalty rates for nurses and frontline receptionists. With 50 more clinics set to be established, the cost is estimated at $12.8 million per clinic for WA taxpayers. This comes after the Federal Health Minister Mark Butler met with all the health ministers from all the states and territories at the Pan Pacific Hotel last Friday to discuss issues and solutions. At the end of the day, resolving challenges within the healthcare system is about more than just the Prime Minister waving the Medicare card in front of the television cameras. Back to you, Melly.
Paige Reid with that story. Thanks, Paige. The days of the live sheep export trade is in a final countdown, with the number of sheep in Western Australia continuing to decline, setting off a chain reaction of job losses in regional communities and a vicious cycle of despair among farmers. The opposition is raising issues again, saying there is no clarity on how the industry can transition. Steve Anderson reports.
The state opposition has launched a fierce attack on the Cook government over the looming federal live sheep export ban, warning it is already crippling Western Australia's sheep industry. Nationals MP and agriculture spokesperson Lachlan Hunter says not a single live export vessel will leave WA for the rest of the year, a sharp contrast to previous seasons when shipments resumed quickly after the northern summer moratorium.
This is a direct consequence of Labor's decision to end the live sheep trade. And we've also seen today some alarming figures that the flock numbers in Western Australia are at an all-time low.
Mr. Hunter says the ban has destroyed confidence along the supply chain, from farmers to truck drivers and shearers. Sheep numbers in WA have fallen from 12.4 million in 2022 to 8.6 million this year.
Their trade is being sold down the window because of preference deals in Sydney and Melbourne and a government in Western Australia that doesn't see past the Perth Hills.
The state government, on the other hand, says State Agriculture Minister Jackie Jarvis is already working with the federal government to provide financial support for transition. But the Deputy Premier refused to say whether additional money will be given for extra support.
Well, the Minister for our Minister for Primary Industries and Agriculture is working with the federal government. Of course, this is a federal government issue. They've got money on the table to support the industry through transition, and I trust and hope that's working well.
Will you provide any extra funding though?
Well, as I said, there's money on the table from the federal government, and that's something that's being rolled out as we speak.
The opposition says it will continue fighting for industry support and a clear transition plan, while urging the Cook government to take a stronger stand against Canberra's decision. Steve Anderson, WAMN News.
And here are other top stories making news in Perth and Western Australia this weekend.
The government has announced major transport infrastructure developments, with new public transport lines set to launch at Armidale and Byford stations. New bus services will pick up passengers in Hilbert, Whitby and Mundijong, creating fresh links between metro stations and expanding suburbs. Officials also toured the rebuilt Armidale elevated train station and bus terminal. Federal and state government representatives also marked the official start of construction on the Tonkin Highway Extension South. The acting premier was joined by a federal minister and a state MP at Mundijong today. The project will improve road access from Perth southeast to the city while creating more than 4,400 jobs during construction. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has set a new emissions target of 62 to 70% cuts by 2035, following advice from the Climate Change Authority. The target, part of Australia's updated net zero plan, maintains the 2050 deadline and focuses on electricity, transport and industry. Measures include $2 billion for the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, a $5 billion fund for heavy industry, and expanded electric vehicle infrastructure. Mr. Albanese called the goal ambitious but achievable, saying it aligns with the Paris Agreement and protects jobs and the economy. Treasury model shows an orderly transition could add $2.2 trillion to the GDP and 5 million jobs by 2050. Climate Change Minister Chris Bowen said the target reflects maximum achievable ambition, while Climate Change Authority Chair Matt Keane described the clean energy shift as an economic growth opportunity.
Forestfield police have charged a 12-year-old boy following an incident involving an allegedly stolen vehicle in Perth's east. Police allege that around 10:20 p.m. on Wednesday, the 17th of September, the boy stole a GWM Tank 300 from a property on Wittenoom Road, High Wycombe. About an hour later, officers attempted to stop the vehicle on Nardine Close, but it is alleged the driver failed to stop and drove away. A second attempt to intercept the vehicle at about 12:20 a.m. on Thursday was also unsuccessful, with police citing safety concerns over alleged erratic driving. The police air wing tracked the vehicle until officers deployed a tyre deflation device on Kalamunda Road, immobilising it. The driver and a passenger fled on foot, with the 12-year-old taken into custody and facing multiple charges. The second person remains outstanding. The boy appeared at Perth Children's Court on Thursday.
The Cook government has raised income eligibility limits for social housing tenants in WA. Weekly thresholds have risen by $14 for single-income households and $21 for dual-income households, ensuring people on the age pension, disability support pension, service pension or carers payment remain eligible. Different limits apply in the state's northwest, remote areas and for tenants with disability. The new threshold covers both public and community housing. Housing and Works Minister John Kerry said this is the 8th increase since the Cook government took office, with future rises to align with Commonwealth income support payments to ensure vulnerable people remain eligible.
2 men have been rescued after their vessel capsized off the coast of Garden Island earlier this week. A mayday call was received at around 10:15 a.m. on marine radio channel VHF 16, reporting a boat in distress. Authorities were also alerted to an emergency beacon activation in the same area shortly after. Water Police coordinated the rescue with assistance from the AMSA Challenger jet, the RAC rescue helicopter, police air wing and local marine rescue crews. A nearby commercial fishing vessel reached the scene first and located the overturned aluminium runabout. The men, who were both wearing life jackets, were found sitting on the upturned hull and were safely taken aboard the fishing vessel before being brought back to shore. They were met at Point Perrin by St John WA paramedics and taken to Fiona Stanley Hospital for assessment.
And now here's Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
As with every other expense that households face, unfortunately the costs of accessing private healthcare have increased. The premiums for private health insurance have increased, and the outpatient costs, things like visiting your GP, where they're not bulk billing, have increased as well. GPs would love to be in a position where they could bulk bill everybody and still run their businesses effectively, but unfortunately there was a long freeze, more than 7 years, during which the price that the government would rebate to patients for a bulk billed GP visit remained exactly the same. And then at the end of that time, the increases have not kept up with inflation. So we see many instances where it would be more profitable to be a tradesman than it is to be a general practitioner, particularly after hours. What I would suggest is that a long-term relationship with a GP is a good investment in the way that it saves people time off work and being in hospital and so on, and the government should respond to that by putting money into the most cost-effective part of the Australian healthcare system, which is prevention through regular general practice contact. People can, of course, access various safety nets and so on, and the government does provide support for low-income earners. But for other people, really the only way is to be putting pressure on the government and also on the health insurers to be providing a good product and doing so at a reasonable price that is not paying a lot of management expenses into those insurance companies for those episodes where people do go into hospital. Unfortunately, over time, private health insurance is becoming more important because the public system is becoming more difficult to access, particularly for elective type procedures. So it is worth, for those who can afford it, maintaining your private health insurance and avoiding the tax penalties that occur for people who don't have that private insurance, so that your family can hopefully access the care that you need in a timely manner. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, Ivan, are you looking forward to the Royal Show?
Are you ready for the animal nursery?
I'm very excited to see all the animals again this year.
I just have to ask you this one. Now, when it comes to show bags, it's not particularly my thing. I know everyone has their own preferences. What do you have in mind?
I don't think you can go wrong with a Birdie Beetle show bag.
All I want to do is write the Ferris wheel again. We've got a why show, the Royal Show every year. Every year is a little bit different.
That's a great one. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Subscribe to WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent local news, keeping democracy strong. wamnews.com.au/news/extra. For Millie and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.